Hey guys, it's Katie. So we're going to attempt to make another translucent cane. And I don't want a very big cane, but I want this design, which we can stretch out when we cut slices. So I'm not going to go too small with this. Or too large, okay? Because it's one I've never done. But I don't want like a jelly roll spiral. I just want some circles in it. So what I have is a little block of translucent here, and I'm thinking that's going to be too small. I need a little bit more translucent. And we're going to make this into kind of a circle or a little short sausage. And then I have a bunch of Kemper cutters, and you can use whatever size cutters or whatever design you want, but I'm going to use round. And we're going to kind of make circles inside of circles. And we can use this on top of things to add another layer. I really love translucent canes, if you haven't noticed. And I've tried to come up with different ones that you can kind of grow off of and change in different ways. And that way, they just add so much depth to a piece when you add them to a piece. That's why I like them so much. Especially when you layer them on different pieces, like layering a leaf on top of something. I just really enjoy the way that looks myself personally, and there's really not a lot of tutorials on translucent canes. There's a couple of them, but there's not enough, which is why I've tried to come up with some different ideas of them. So that's really my goal. So I'm just taking this little log and I'm smushing it down to make like a little fat guy, a short fat circle. So I can cut pieces out of this. I can even take my acrylic block and give it a smush down like that. And this isn't really difficult, this one. Or I don't think it will be. I've never made it. We'll see. Okay, so I have a little short fat log. I don't know how big that is. I have a pill bottle here, a little bigger than a pill bottle cap. Not even really. I'll hide my name on it. It's not much bigger than a pill bottle cap. It's the only thing close by that you might have around that's similar. Okay. Anyways, that's what we have. And I'm going to cut a circle out of it. And this may be too wide, but that's okay. We can trim off our excess later. I'm going to cut a circle out of it. And you can use any kind of circle cutters you have. These are Kemper cutters. I need it to go all the way through, so it might be too fat still. Yep. It's too fat for my cutter to reach down to the bottom, so I'm going to have to condense it down. So I'll get rid of that piece because this was big anyways. I'm going to squish it back together. It's not overly soft translucent. So it couldn't be as thick as I just had it. It needs to be, because some of these cutters are taller and some are not. So I want it to be roughly the right height for my shorter ones to go in. I just set that acrylic block somewhere and I can't see it. Oh, there it is. And I could also shave a little bit off of this too. I could get it into a block. Let's say, get it into a little log. That's about right. And then cut off a portion of this just to make sure. Should go all the way through. So I'm not using that much, like I said, because I'm not sure how this is actually going to turn out. So when it's your first one, it's easier to use more clay, but if you're experimenting, try not to use too much. And see these cutters, this thing sticks way down in, so I can't even, that might actually be still too tall. Let's see. Come on, go through there. Oh, yay, got a mark at least. Which is fine because then I can go through from the other side. Cut the hole out from the other side. Now we need that clay though. That's the problem. So for me, this is going to be the hard part, just this first one, because the rest of them get taller than this. I'm just smoothing it off because it was weird. So we're going to need this circle in here. To fill it back in. What I'll do is, since I'm using Kemper cutters, so this may be easier, and you're going to see me do it, this may be easier with regular circle cutters that you can push out. I'm going to stick this little piece down in the middle here to fill in that center again. Okay, so then what we're going to do next is take our white, and I'm just using white. You can use black, you can use a layer of black and white or whatever you want, and I'm going to roll this through my pasta machine on a really thin setting, okay? I do not want this to be a really bold one, so I'm going to roll it out like on a number 8 maybe. Really thin setting. So I'm using an Atlas 150 Wellness. So it's shredding my clay. I got to go down step by step. So I'm using an Atlas 150 Wellness, and I did show you guys how to clean it the other day, which I hope that helps. It kind of looks scary, but it's actually not that scary. So please do it, because you will be surprised how much junk has been in yours if you clay a lot and it's been a long time. And cleaning any of your products will keep them healthier for longer. Healthier, I said. Make them last longer. Okay, so this is on the really thin setting of my pasta machine. Now what we're going to do is just wrap our circle in it. So let me move all my stuff. Oh God. All my stuff here. I hate when it's this thin. Honestly, I hate working with clay this thin. I don't do it that often. Just cut off a straight edge here. And every circle we take out, we're gonna, you might be able to see my head a little bit. Every circle we take out, we're gonna wrap around this guy. I mean, they should all be the same width from here to here, but they may get distorted, so that's why I'm only cutting a little piece out. So there's one that should fit around it. If not, I can patch it up and add a little bit more. Oh, I didn't. I cut it. You see, this is working great today, huh? I could have just cut that out, like out of my tutorial, and you wouldn't even see it, but I might as well just keep it in there so you guys can see that everybody does things weird sometimes, or none of us are perfect. Even if you're paying for Patreon, I do support people on Patreon. I have a couple of accounts that I support to help them buy materials and stuff to be able to show us tutorials, but even they cut things out. You can tell when they made a mistake on something and they pause it for a second and they come back. I mean, no one is perfect. We're all human and we're all going to make mistakes, but try to, I think my biggest thing too with teaching you guys is trying to let you not be as stiff with your work. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get you guys to think outside the box a little bit and just have fun and enjoy your crafting. So all I'm doing now is just pinching it a little bit so we can get it to fit down in here. You may also have to take this piece and just stretch it a hair, because we just added that thin layer of white. So we have to set it down in here. And this is not a jelly roll. You know, if you want to make a jelly roll, make a jelly roll. But to get a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle, we're doing it like this. So I'm just gradually like forcing it up my piece so it sits in there fully. Okay, and these will get out of shape a little bit. They're not going to be perfect circles, but that's totally fine. I'm just kind of pushing it together. Okay, so there's one. And then I'll take my next size down. I'm going to go try to center it. Again, my camera's right in my face, so I can't actually see. I'm going to move that white off to the side a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfectly centered. Is this guy going to reach all the way to the bottom? Yes, it did. Push that out, but that means I'm going to get a hole in there. So I'm going to have to fill that back in. And look, it also made it black too. See that in there? So regular graduated circles may work better. Just throwing that out there, but this is what I had out and ready. I'm just going to smooth that circle off a little bit. And then again, we're going to wrap this little guy in there. And we'll probably use this in a project at some point too. I have that blue flower that I made really large recently that I reduced down. I'll probably use that. I haven't used that purple flower in a project either. Let me take a little piece of translucent and stick it in that hole since it condensed it so much. With the plunger inside of that cutter, it really condenses it. Okay, I'm going to stretch this guy out just a hair. Maybe even reduce this guy just a tiny bit. Because it's clay, it's sticky, it's not wanting to, it won't just slide in there, you know, like metal would or something. Unless you really stretch it, but I'm going to set him down in there. And then, what's my next size? That one there. You know, actually they look longer, but they're actually not. The plungers are just coming down further. Let me use this side because I can see on this side where the line is better. So it's pretty much the same thing over and over and over. Just cutting little strips of the white to wrap around until I get to where I'm, you know, happy with how many circles I have. And maybe I'll do another one on this too, on this tutorial. Maybe we'll just do a couple of different accent canes you can use for your projects. I love the accent translucent canes. I really do. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I think they look really cool on top of different designs. There's different flowers you can make. Any kind of flower. You can just make it in translucent and white or translucent and black. Any kind of flower that you've seen. I do have one translucent flower, but I don't know if I posted it. We could do a translucent flower at some point if you guys want to see it. I've done a translucent leaf. I did like some kind of weird translucent thing that looks like a mussel. Guy making a mussel. People have made like a nautilus. Those are out there. I don't know if I've seen a tutorial on that. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on that. You just do it the same way you make a nautilus, just with translucent. Stop sticking. It's sticking. Can you get in there, please? And then my next size, this one, or that looks like the one I just used. That's the one I just used, but that one's almost identical. So let me go down to this one here. Looks a little dirty, hang on. It's like they probably machine these in a metal factory, so they got this dirt on them, so I don't know. Get down in there. And it's okay if they touch. I mean, it really is. It'll just give it kind of a cool look to it. I don't know how this is going to turn out. You guys will know when I know. So really just enjoy it. Enjoy the process of creating and experimenting, you know? See what you can come up with. Okay, that will fit in there. So let's wrap this in a little white. And that'll probably be the last size I do because it's kind of getting hard the smaller they get. I have one more size down I could go, but get off of there. It's kind of getting hard. And I do have micro cutters, but on the small sizes it's hard to dig the piece out of there if you need to keep the piece that you just cut out like this. So the Kemper cutters work well, but they're leaving that hole in the middle, which I'm filling in with more translucent. Just reducing that a little bit. There we go. Perfect. And then I got a big cutter. What I'll do is I'll cut the rest of my excess translucent off. I have these graduated circle cutters that I can use. Because I don't need all this border. Well, should I do a white outer layer? Sorry, I keep bumping the camera because I'm trying to see over it. This kind of reminds me of Samantha Burroughs' scribble pattern. Doodles or something. She has a pendant that's similar. Very similar, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I kind of went sideways with it, which I didn't mean to do, but I did. Okay, wait, hang on. No, see? I cut into my white, so I'm going to push my center out. I'm going to set it back together and squish it back together because I went crooked. Stop flipping around on me. Okay, so we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to have oopsies, but the project is still salvageable. So let me fit this back in here, if I can get it to go. Looks like my line got messed up, but that's okay. Because again, it's an accent cane, and no one's just going to be looking at that. So then, I just wanted to get rid of some of my translucent on the outside. I tried to go too small. So I can save that. Is what I was trying to do. And we could potentially wrap the outside in a layer too. It would kind of give it a weird, wider kind of look. We could do that. This white's so thin. So my machine, when I say you have to go down to your thinnest, if I don't go through every setting, this is what my machine does to my clay. So I can jump 2 settings at a time, but I can't just go to that low number, even though it was already rolled out on the low number. So I'm up at a 2, and then I'm going to work my way down. So now I'm going to go to a 4. And then a 6. Just my machine can't do it. Some machines can, mine cannot. Okay. And I kind of actually want to leave this roughly this size. I might reduce it a little bit to compress it all, but I want to leave this circle design about this size. With this, then you can actually see where it's meeting. To help if I use my blade edge. And then I laid one edge flush, and then this edge wasn't 100% flush, so I'll trim off the excess there. I just ordered a new blade. I really love this blade because it's the thinnest one I've ever found, and I found it again on Amazon. In my order, so I just ordered it again, but it takes forever for it to come. Okay, so I'm just going to gently reduce this just to get it to compress a little bit, but this will be kind of a nice, cool design to layer on top. And these aren't all perfectly even circles, and I'm okay with that. I mean, spend some more time if you want them perfect. And I'm also going to get some graying in there from that cutter as well. But I love my translucent accent canes, I really do. So I was just trying to come up with some kind of new ones I need on there that people can see. Especially if you're new, you know, you kind of have to follow along. When I was new, I had to follow along. And now I'm realizing that, hey, I can create my own stuff. So there's one. I'm not going to slice it right now. I'm going to let it sit and rest. And then let me get some more translucent and we'll work on another one. Now you totally could have just done this a different way, and I don't know why it just hit me. You could have made a little log of clay, wrapped a layer of the thin white around it, made a thick layer of translucent, wrapped that around. So like have a layer of your thin white on your thin setting, and then have translucent strips on a thicker setting, and then just, you know, have a log of translucent, wrap the thin white, wrap the thick translucent, wrap the thin white, wrap the thick translucent, and that would have given you probably more even than cutting through. Okay, if you want them to be perfect. I don't know why that just hit me, but that's a way you can do it too. Okay, anyways, I'll be back. Okay, so I have this little bit of black and white, and I don't know what it was from, but I had it from something recently. And it's on a fairly thick setting, so I'm going to bring this down to a thinner setting. I'm assuming that's roughly around a 3 on my pasta machine. And so I'm just going to put it in from this side and go up to this side because I want to lengthen this. But I want these as accent canes, so I don't want anything being super bold. So I think I'm going to take it down to a number 6. Yep, a number 6, so it's really thin. And then I'm going to make a sausage. Or actually, let me make a strip of translucent on a thicker setting than that, though, because I want more translucent than I want. And I'm going to add in this, well, maybe I'll keep that dirty translucent out. So let's see, if that was on a 6, maybe we'll put this on a 3. And then we'll jelly roll it. I'm just trying to get it roughly the same width, so I'm folding it and then putting it through my machine on the thickest setting, and then I'll bring it down. Let me see if that's about the same length. I gotta go down one more, so I'm gonna go to a 4. So I want to use that up. I don't know what I had that from, but I had that from something. And then, am I going to do white down? Let's do black against the translucent. I might as well use that little bit up. I don't remember what I had that from. If you guys remember what project I had that from, let me know. Because I really don't remember. Oh, maybe it was from that muscle arm cane or something. I don't know. And I am going to cut this round because we might as well use it. Okay, so we got the translucent slightly thicker than the black and the white, and all we're going to do is roll. So just kind of fold in your end a little bit. As you can see, I got a little air bubble right there, so I'm going to slice it right now. Try to push the air out. Just like that. have a very simple translucent black white jelly roll cane. Super easy. That'll add some cool design on top of something, right? And remember, your lace canes are made out of just very simple canes like this. Your lace design. So you don't need to just do white, you can do black and white. Okay, so we have this and we have this, and I will bake them up later. What do I want to do next? Let me see what I want to do next. Hang on. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is going to be similar to like the chrysanthemum, I think it's called. So, oh, I didn't get one part ready. I have translucent here rolled out of my thickest setting, and I have white rolled out on my 6th, which is 3 away from my thinnest setting. I'm going to get a little log. This is how I said you could have done that first one we did over here. So I'm going to get a little log. And I just fed my dogs and let them out, so if they have to come in, I may have to pause. Sorry about that. This is just kind of me crafting, honestly. Coming up with different things, and I figured I might as well show you. Because if I want to use them and I don't show you, some people may not know how to figure it out, you know, how to make it. If you're just starting, they may not know how to make that. Oh, I like that little thing that she used. So I figure I might as well show you. So I'm going to get a little log of translucent, and I'll take my white and we're going to wrap it. So let me get a clean edge here. And again, I don't want any of these really. I hear them barking. I don't know why they're barking. Can't tell if it's a play bark or if it's like the mailman's here bark. Anyways, they stopped. So I'm going to wrap this guy around like this. And I'm going to cut him like that. So like I said, this is how you could have done this guy here. We're going to do something very similar and just going to modify it a little bit. So one little easy thing, just like I did with the Bargello, you can really change it up and make it look totally different. And remember, the ends are always going to look funny, so don't forget about the ends. Just trying to roll it, make sure there's no air bubbles down in there. And then we need to take our translucent on my thickest setting, and I'll cut a clean edge off of this too. So then we have a thick layer of translucent. But before we wrap it, we're going to do something. Now, I don't have a credit card down here, and I really wish I did. There we go. So right now what we're going to do, I'm going to use the back of my blade for this one, and I'm going to push in the white clay into the translucent clay. Okay, so I'm not using the sharp side, I'm using the dull side. And this will kind of push it in there. And you don't need to, they don't need to be evenly spaced, just kind of randomly. Different depths, it'll kind of pull the clay down in there. This is the inner stages, so you want it kind of thin, and the further out we go, the thicker it will go. Or the wider, we'll use something that's wider than this. Okay. And we'll kind of squish all that back together. Okay. And then we'll wrap it in a layer of translucent. I was thinking that might be too thick, but I don't want as much white. I want more translucent than I want white. Yeah, it's too big of a gap, so I'm going to run this through. If that was 0, I'll put it on 2, because 0 and 1 on my machine are about the same exact thickness. And then I'm going to go to 3. I'm just lengthening it, not widening it, I'm lengthening it, so it still should fit roughly the same width. Yeah, that feels better. I don't know why, it just feels better to have that like that. Yep. So just play with it and see what you want. That's all this is about, is giving you ideas of different types of accent canes you can make. And if it isn't perfect, you can shave it off to save it. And smooth that part off. Good, and then we'll wrap in another layer of white. Let's see, did that get a little taller? It did, so I'm going to push it down so it's about the same height as that white is. And this may be a stupid video for you to watch, but it doesn't hurt to show people stuff. Especially free content, right? Because there are not a lot of new clayers out there, which is awesome. Then next, to get this to be a little thicker, I'm going to take a piece of paper, if I can find one. I even have a piece of cardstock here, so let's do that. Maybe I should cut it. Take a piece of cardstock. I'm going to wrap this around my blade, the dull side of my blade, and that will make my blade a little bit thicker than what it was, and that will help push the clay in more. So we're going to just begin going around, same as we did before, and make little indents. And I really think, which I've never made the chrysanthemum, I really think this is the premise behind it. Just using colors. And what I'll do is I'll let these rest, and then I'll bake a piece to put in my little book, in my project book, so I remember. So someday when I'm making projects, I'm like, I really need something, but I don't know what I need. I can just look back and be like, oh, that would fit with this project. Okay, and then we'll gently push it all back together. And it got a little taller, so I'm just gonna again flatten it down. And you can do as many rows of this as you want. Ultimately, it's your creation. So just have fun creating. That's all I am doing today, is just creating. I don't really have anything in mind of what I'm going to use these for, but I know because they're very basic, I will use them. And you could use these and make a lace cane out of these for sure. Make a bunch of these and put them all together like my other lace cane. Okay, and then we'll wrap that again in white. I don't have enough white right there. Let me see if that will go around it. And I'll probably end it right here on a layer of white. You can add as many or as little layers as you want. You can add as thick or as thin of layers as you want. You can use colors, you can use whatever you want. It's just a basic idea. Squish that seam together. And then a little extra white on the top I'll shave off. Okay. And then maybe this time I will use my needle tool and drag it across. Like that. More just using the tip and pushing in with the tip. And then you can reduce these into whatever sizes you want as well. You know, if you're going to use these to cover a seam, then smaller would probably be better. If you're going to use these to just kind of have some weird thing on the top of your design, you know, it really doesn't matter what size, any size you want. You'll have to determine that. Sorry, I got my washer and dryer going upstairs. And then that one's done. So we got 3 basic rounds using very similar ideas, but that are going to look totally different when we cut them. So I'll let them rest for just a little while, not long, because I didn't reduce them very far. And I'll write in my book exactly what I did. And then I'll cut a slice off the end. I won't get rid of the end. I'll use the goofy looking slice tape in my book that I've showed you before. And I'll come back and I'll show you what they look like when they're baked. I'll probably just stick them on a piece of scrap. That way I can see through them. And yeah. Okay, so I'm going to cut through them. Let me just wipe my blade off. I have this scrap trial thing that I was doing here. So I'm just going to attempt to take a thin slice. Now the ends are uneven, so it can be a little harder. And see, that's our nice jelly roll, and you can always pull them and flatten them off and thin them. That there. That will go in my book. Okay, that's a black and white jelly roll, black, white, translucent jelly roll. I'll just cut this. Out, a little square there so I can tape that in my book. And let me wipe that because there's silver leaf on there. Really don't know where that blue just came from. Here's the chrysanthemum looking one. Which, hang on, I gotta get a little deeper in. It's gonna smear because that's the last one I did. Maybe I'll let that one sit another minute. Now, the larger canes are always harder to slice for some reason. And these are new, so they're kind of... Why am I sticking? I hate that. I need to sharpen my blade. Let me just get it all even. Sometimes I get a thinner strip like this, especially when I haven't let it rest. I said I was going to let it rest. I let it rest for maybe like 40 seconds. Stick that on there. So they did get a little out of whack, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. And let me try this one again to see if it will smear more. Just stretching it out, flattening it a little bit. See how just pushing that in got us that kind of design. So out of 3 kind of simple circle things, we got 3 completely different looking accent canes. So what I'll do is I'll get these in the oven. I'll save these little pieces to put something on later. So I'll get these in the oven, and then I'll show you what they look like when they're baked. You know, they're not the thinnest slice I could have accomplished, but because they hadn't rested long, I would rather have the pattern so I can remember later. You know, just a couple circles, jelly roll, circles, and then pushing the white into it. You know, I could have kept going smaller in the middle, but I'm okay with that. Okay, so I'll bake them and I'll be back. Okay, so now they're done and they're out of the oven, just on a basic sheet that I had of clay, you know, just to see how they look on clay. That's the one where we use the circle cutters. That's our black and white jelly roll, and that's our push one. I don't know what else to call it. All I did was buff them just a little bit. And then I'll just tape them in my book. And remember, you can make these as large or as small as you want. So translucent black and white jelly roll will go here. Okay, I just tape them in my book so I know for the future. Oop. The circle one goes here, and then the push lines one goes here, and that way in the future when I'm like I need something else, I have it and I can just go through and flip through and see what I've made in the past. And I don't know, I'm finding this actually a really handy thing, and I'll use this, you know, I could remake this because I'm usually, as I'm designing them, I kind of jot notes down, or if I have something in my head, so my notes aren't that fancy. But later I can redo this book and just take these end canes and put them in the new book. But there's the one we did today, the 3 that we did today. Very simple, basic canes. Remember, you can do them in color. You don't need to do them with translucent, but 3 very simple canes. That's what I'm calling the push lines. It's kind of like the chrysanthemum, but I can't spell that, so here's the one where we use the circle cutters again and cut out a log, and then here's the one where we just did a simple jelly roll with black and white on there. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Later.